All the feels. Hey, I don't know about you guys, but that last song gives me all the feels. Like redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Is anybody thankful for that right there? Like my goodness. Ah. Hey, on a totally unrelated note, I feel like I saw Sonic the Hedgehog in the roll-in video. Anybody else? Okay, yeah. We have a picture actually. Can we put up that picture? I think we have a picture. Look. That is Sonic, you guys. We have another picture we'll put up here. Look, I told you that our media guy is putting subliminal Sonics in our videos. That's what's happening. Hey, that has nothing to do with today's message. But we're in this series, and we've been talking about all the emotions, and we've been calling this series All the Feels. And speaking of all the feels, 2 weekends ago, I got all the feels right here where the whole Barth family is. Because I ran into Debbie, and Debbie is actually Kristen's mom, right? And so I was talking to her, and she actually is in Maryland, so I don't get to run into her very much. But we have a picture of her, so you know kind of who we're talking about. Yeah, this is Kristen right here. And by the way, I just love the Barths. These guys, you may not know them, but they are the best. And so let's just give it up for the Barths. You guys are the best. And so anyway, Debbie lives in Maryland. I don't normally get to run into her, but she was at church 2 weekends ago, and she was like, "Hey, Joel, I think I have listened to every single message online." Every single message. I was thinking, like, I don't think my mom's listened to every single message. Like, my goodness. And when I was in elementary school, that meant you got, like, perfect attendance. You know, you won the perfect attendance award. And so I thought for Debbie, since she's got perfect attendance, every one of us would just say on 3, we'd say, "Debbie, you win the perfect online attendance award." And that's a lot, but you guys are above average, so you can do this, okay? So Debbie, you win the perfect online attendance award on 3. Here you go, Debbie. 1, 2, 3. Debbie, you win the perfect attendance. Good job. Yes. Leave it to the leader to mess the whole thing up, okay? But so glad you tune in every week. That is amazing. And hey, if you've not been with us, the tagline for this series has been, you got to deal with the feels so that the feels don't deal with you. And we talked about anger on week 1. And then on Valentine's week, we talked about love for all you lovers. And then last weekend, I was at Millsboro. I don't know if you guys were here last weekend, but I was at Millsboro. But our tech team got me on a screen here and in Fenwick at the same time, which sounds like an episode of Star Trek or something to me. And so can we just get up for our tech team, like making things happen? It's amazing. And so they're so good at that. And last weekend when I was in Millsboro and here and Fenwick at the same time, we talked about fear. And I want to kind of tease out today's message, what we're going to talk about this way. I need everybody, everywhere, to get out your phones. Get out your phones. iPhones, Android phones, bag phones. I'm not here to judge. Just kidding. Zach Morris called. He needs his bag phone back. Okay. All right, everybody, just phone in the air. Phone in the air. Okay, that's good. All right, now here's my question. You can put your phone down. How many of you have ever, and I mean ever, sent or received an emoji before? You sent or received an emoji, hands up, phones up, whatever. Oh, that is like everybody in the room. My mom sent me an emoji the other day. And my mom has like a glorified flip phone. I'm like, get after that flip phone. That is amazing, Mom. Like, I didn't know that technology could do that on a flip phone. So anyway, everybody pretty much said that they have sent or received an emoji. And so here's what I kind of want to know. I want to know what emojis you send the most. Like, what's your go-to emoji? And while you're trying to like think about it, if you have an iPhone, which you should have an iPhone. Jesus would have had an iPhone. I can't prove it, but I think it's probably in there somewhere, okay? But if you do have an iPhone, you can find out what emoji you send the most. You can go to Messages, click the little emoji guy, and you'll see your frequently used emojis. And so you can do that right now if you want to do that. Android does that too. Okay, see, I didn't know because I don't, roll that way, but it's good, okay? So I need you to tell me or describe to me or use facial expressions to tell me, like, what's your go-to most used emoji. And we're all friends here, and so heart. Yours is heart? Oh, yours is that makes sense. That's good. Any thumbs up, people? Okay, there's some thumbs up, people. And in the first service, the first guy who got my attention was like, "This is the one I sent." I was like, "That's amazing. You got to come up here and do that." And I don't know what that is. Anybody else? Oh, blowing kisses. Oh, that's good. That's good. Hugs. Oh, you guys are sending the nice ones. Okay, nobody's saying like the, I don't know, whatever. All right, so that's a lot of different ones. Now, this week I looked at the ones I send the most. This is a true story. The one that showed up the most as my number one frequently used emoji was this one right here. I'm like, I am doing something right, man. Tacos. And if you needed a sign from the Lord to get Taco Rijo today after church, the Lord sends a sign. Okay, there it is. But emojis are great because emojis represent our emotions. And so this week I was doing some deep biblical research on the most popular emojis that we send. And tacos did not make the list, okay? We got some work to do. They didn't make the top 10. Didn't even crack the top 10. But the number one emoji that we send is actually this one. Is that yours? This is called the face with tears of joy emoji, if you need to know the technical term. Okay, so this is something you can send if somebody sends you something funny, you can send this. Or when the Steelers didn't make it into the playoffs this year, this is a good one, send right there. Just stuff like that. So this is the number one sent emoji. The second most popular emoji is this one. So, smiling face with heart eyes. Everybody say, "Aw." Look, you can also send this when the Steelers don't make it into the playoffs. This is a good one. Who's ever sent this one? You sent this one? Oh, you lovers. Okay, that's good. Now, the second most popular emoji, I don't know if you're wondering what it is. In my head, I thought it might be this one we'll put on the screen. I thought it could be the barf emoji. Anybody thinking that? Was anybody thinking that one when you saw this one? Anybody? Some of you. But the second most popular sent emoji is actually this one. Yeah, so it's the loudly crying. You're like, oh, that went a different direction. Okay, the loudly crying face. Okay, which is how I feel every time I get behind somebody on Route 24. Anybody? Yeah. And so today we're going to talk about this guy. We're going to talk about sadness. Aren't you glad you came to church today? Now, we're going to talk about sadness because I think a lot of us think, hey, sad is bad. And the reason I think we think that is because nobody in this room woke up this morning and said, you know what I want to do today? I just want to cry. I just want to listen to Adele music and curl up to a Kleenex box, just cry it out all day long. Nobody said that, right? Why? Or maybe, okay, one. But we don't think that generally because we think sad is bad. But I believe that every emotion is from God. And so I don't think there are bad emotions. But I do think that every emotion can go bad. And all sadness is the emotion tied to loss or losing something, right? And we all lose things. How many of you lose some things? Do you know what we lose the most? The top 3 things we lose? Number 1 is the TV remote, men. All the time. The second thing we lose the most, according to the one article I saw, and if it's on the internet, it's true, okay, is we lose our phone. Then the third thing we lose the most are our car keys. How many of you have ever lost any of these before? Any of these? Yes. Who's lost all 3 at the same time? I'm one of those people, I lose things all the time. You want to hear an embarrassing story? Here's an embarrassing story. So, this is a true story. You're going to think it's not true. You can ask my wife. This is a true story. 2 weeks ago, I was playing outside with the kids and my dog Eli. And Stacy came out and said, hey, guys, come in. Dinner is ready. And so we were coming in, but I couldn't find my dog. Now, that's not weird. My dog weighs 7 pounds. Okay, I've seen hamsters in PetSmart bigger than Eli. Okay, little dog, little guy. And so I'm in the backyard looking for Eli. I'm in the garage looking for Eli. I am yelling, Eli. And are you ready for this? My 6-year-old Nora said, Daddy, you're holding Eli. I looked down. I was yelling, Eli, Eli. My dog was in my hand. This is your pastor, you guys. It's going downhill from here. Is that true? Is that a true story? It's a true story, okay? But if I had lost my dog, I would have been sad. Because sadness is the emotion tied to loss. And it can be any kind of loss, a big loss, small loss. It's all a loss. And so like maybe you tried out for the team or you applied for the job and you didn't get it. And you feel like, you feel sad because you feel like you lost that. Maybe you asked the girl out and she did not respond with this emoji. Hello. And so it didn't work out and you're sad. Maybe you were hoping your marriage would work out. And you tried, and you did everything you knew to do, and it didn't work out, and you lost that, and you're sad. Maybe you're not at the place in your career or in life where you thought you would be right now, and that kind of feels like sadness and a loss to you. Maybe you're just a Baltimore Orioles fan. Listen, it is dark days for us Orioles fans, okay? We lost 108 games last season. That's like a record. Not in the right direction, okay? Bad record. But it's a new season, baby. Miracles happen. But we all know what it's like to lose something. And sometimes it's a big loss, and sometimes, we lose somebody. Maybe it's a small loss. And so we all know what loss and that feels like. And so I want to talk about how we can walk through sadness so that we don't get lost in our sadness. How do we walk through sadness so we don't get lost in our sadness? And to do that, if you brought a Bible, head on over to 1 Kings chapter 18. And we're going to look at one of my favorite stories in the Old Testament. And it's a crazy story, okay? It kind of feels like Harry Potter meets Gladiator meets Captain America. So it's a crazy story. And so it's the story of Elijah versus 450 prophets of Baal. It's a little backstory. Elijah is a prophet at a time where hardly anybody was worshiping God. Almost everybody was worshiping these little gods like Baal and Asherah. And so one day, Elijah sends King Ahab a text. I made that part up, but let's just imagine. He sends him a text. This part is real. And he says, hey, let's have a showdown between my God and all your little gods. And whichever God puts on the greatest show, that will be the real one. And so he's like, hey, King Ahab, you can bring your best magicians, do all your fanciest tricks, but whatever God does the biggest show is the real God. And so what they did is they got this group of people together, and everybody showed up for this event. Okay, I'm talking it's like the Super Bowl. You got the Goodyear blimp flying around, people are selling hot dogs, just people everywhere to see this showdown. And they built this altar, put a bull on the altar, and the goal was whichever God could light this altar on fire was the real one. And so it was Elijah versus 450 prophets of Baal. One versus these 450 prophets. It was Team Baal's turn first. And so they're trying to get their god Baal to light this altar on fire. So they're singing. They're dancing. They're doing the get up. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Okay, that's not in there. I made that part up too. Anyway, but they're doing all this stuff to get their God's attention, to light this altar on fire, and it doesn't work. So Team Baal spent all day trying to do that, and at the end of the day, Elijah goes up, and he actually has them pour 12 buckets of water on this altar before he does anything. So it's a soaking altar, and then Elijah prays to his God, our God, and then this is what happens next, and this is in 1 Kings 18, starting in verse 38. It says, immediately the fire of the Lord flashed down from heaven and burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, and the dust. It even licked up all the water in the trench. And when all the people saw it, and again, everybody's here. This is like the Super Bowl, guys. Everybody saw it. They fell face down on the ground and cried out, the Lord, He is what? He is God. Yes, the Lord is God. In other words, the crowd goes wild. And so they're all of a sudden like, yes, that He is the real God. And in the same day, it hadn't rained for 3 years. Elijah prays for it to rain. And it rains. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, this is amazing. And then in the same day, it says that King Ahab took off in his chariot back to town. And Elijah ran on foot faster than the chariot. It's like a scene out of Captain America or something. I mean, it just is crazy. And can we all agree that Elijah is feeling pretty good that day? Can we all agree? Listen, that is a good day. I don't care who you are. And so I'm sure Elijah is like sending like text messages to his friends with emojis and like thumbs up emoji, praise hands emoji, fire emoji. I don't know. And so like he is having the best day of his life. But the very next day ends up being the darkest day in his life, which just goes to remind us that life can be an emotional roller coaster. Isn't that true? Like sometimes we're at the highs, sometimes we're at the lows. Sometimes life feels like we're on the gravitron, and so there's highs and lows. And let's kind of talk about the highs first. And so if you're taking notes, how do we work through sadness? The first thing is this. You got to enjoy the highs. Enjoy the highs. So on Monday, I was getting my kids ready for school early that morning. And so I set their clothes out. And while they were getting changed, I went upstairs and I was getting changed and getting ready for the day. And I put my members only jacket on. Come on, 1980s. I just squeezed in Sonic the Hedgehog and members only jackets in the same message. It's a bucket list item for me. Anyway, so I love my members only jacket. I know I'm probably the last member, but I love my members only jacket. So I put this thing on. I go downstairs. I'm psyched about it. And no lie, my 4-year-old Nixon, he walks out of his bedroom wearing his members only jacket because we have matching members only jackets, people. He walked out and I'm like, I am not the last member. And so I made my daughter Nora take a picture of it. Obviously had to do that. You want to see the picture of me and Nix that morning? Okay, here's us in our members only jackets. Proudest parenting moment of my life right here. But Nixon, this kid is so amazing. Like he makes every day exciting. I don't know if you have a kid like that, but he's like that kid. And I take him to daycare every morning and I always check him in. And so a few weeks ago I was checking Nixon in. And there was this little girl about Nixon's age next to us with her dad, and they were checking in too, right over here. And Nixon looked at her, and then he looked at me, and Nixon said, Daddy, that's my girlfriend. I'm like, you are 4, man. Like, you don't need a girlfriend. And he said it loud enough that the girl's dad had to have heard it. And he was bigger than me. And so I'm like, kind of smooth it over. I'm like smiling at him, like, hi. This is my members only jacket. I don't know. And so it was kind of a funny check-in that morning. I went to go pick him up from school that night, and he was in the hallway. He ran right up to me, and this girl ran up as well. And Nixon said, Daddy, that's my girlfriend. The thing is, it was not the same girl. True story. I'm like, this little player, what is happening? And so we get in the car, and I'm like, Nix, man, you don't need one girlfriend, and you definitely don't need 2 girlfriends. And true story, he said, well, good, because, Daddy, I got 3 girlfriends. I'm like, daggone, son. Like, I don't even know, like, if that's legal. I don't know how. Anyway, this kid, and by the way, if you're single, get yourself a members only jacket, apparently, because Nixon is rocking all these girls. Anyway, so, but I was thinking about it this week. I'm like, man, these are some really good times with Nixon. Like, there's going to be a day when he doesn't tell me about his 3 girlfriends. There's going to be a day when if we're wearing the same jacket, he's not going to be like, Daddy, we're wearing the same jacket. This is cool, right? Like, there's going to be a day when that happens. And so, like, life is full of good moments. And when you're in the good times, man, celebrate that. Take it in. Plus, when other people in your life, when your friends are having their good moments, their good times, celebrate that. Root them on. Because you know what we do when we're not in a good season and they are in a good season? You know what we do? Well, must be nice. Must be nice. I wish I could have a good season in my life, man. Don't we do that? Don't do that. Listen, when your friends are having good seasons, celebrate that. Tell them, man, that is awesome, and I believe that God is going to bless me one day. And listen, God is going to bless you one day, but celebrate their good seasons. I love what Romans 12:15 says. It says this. We'll put it on the screen. It says, well, I'll just read it for you. It says, be happy with those who are happy. Be happy with those who are happy. Everybody say this with me. I is happy. If you is happy. Listen, I have this crazy theory that we're happier when we're happy for other people. And so if your people are happy, get happy for them. Root them on. And just know that your season is coming. I love what 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18 says. It says, always be joyful. Always be joyful. Never stop praying. Be what? Thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. Quick question. Does it say be thankful for all circumstances? No. Okay, when you show up to Agave and you're craving that guacamole and the doors are closed, I was not thankful for that circumstance. But we can be thankful in all circumstances. Listen, I don't believe it's happy people who are thankful. I believe it's thankful people who are happy, right? And so it's a choice to wake up every day and to be thankful. It's a choice to wake up every day and say, God, thank you that I woke up today. It's a choice to wake up every day and say, God, thank you that I slept in a bed last night. It's a choice to wake up every day and say, God, thank you that I have a car. And if you don't have a car, you can say, God, thank you that I have a friend who has a car. And if you don't have a friend who has a car, you can say, God, thank you that I can Uber a car. And if you don't have enough money for Uber in a car, you say, God, thank you that I can get the bus. And if you don't have enough money for the bus, you can say, God, thank you that I have a bike that I borrow from my brother. My point is there is always something that we can be thankful for if we just look for it. And so in life, man, there's some good times. Take those in. Enjoy those good times. Okay, enjoy the highs. But isn't it true that we learn more in the lows than we ever learn in the highs? Isn't that true? And so we talked about the highs. Let's talk about the lows. If you're taking notes, okay, number one, we enjoy the highs. Number two is you got to manage the lows. Manage the lows. So on Tuesday, it was 100th year day or 100th day at school, my daughter's school. Any parents you know about 100th day? Okay, basically what you do is you dress your kid up like they're 100 on 100th day. And so my wife Stacey goes to work super early. It's like 5 something in the morning when she leaves the house. So I get the kids ready every morning for school. And so the night before 100th day, on Monday night this week, Stacey said to me, she's like, honey, I need you to put Nora's hair up in rollers on Tuesday morning for 100th day. Do I look like I know how to put hair up in rollers? Don't answer that question. But I was thinking, like, honey, if you want Nora to have friends at all, like you do not want me to put rollers in her hair. So thankfully, Stacey put rollers in her hair for me on Monday night. And so you want to see 100-year-old Nora Tuesday morning? All right, here's 100-year-old Nora right here. Rocking the rollers, rocking the tennis shoes and stockings. You know that's what you do when you're old. And if you're wearing that right now, I'm not making fun of you. Listen, members only jackets came back in style. This can come back in style, baby. But Nora went to school dressed as 100 that day. And on Tuesday, I was thinking, like, what will I do if I get to 100? Like, what will I do? And so I saw a picture this week of a little girl named Emma writing down what she would do if she turns 100. And so we'll put this on the screen. Emma says this: when I turn 100 years old, I will be tired of everything and everyone. Hello. So I will tell everyone I'm going to Canada, but actually go to the Bahamas. I'll live in a tiny hut with my tiny dog. I will order fish tacos when I'm hungry and live my best life. Come on, Emma has it figured out. We all just found out our retirement plan, right? Like tiny hut, tiny dog, tacos, like it's good. But I was thinking about that, and listen, we should all do that when we're 100. But what do we do? What do we do tomorrow? What do we do like when we're sad now? And so let's jump back into the story with Elijah. Okay, Elijah just had his greatest day ever. He's in the Bahamas with his tiny hut and his tiny dog. Like everything is good. But then King Ahab goes and tells his wife Jezebel what had happened with these 450 prophets of Baal, and Jezebel was not pumped. And here's why. Because Jezebel hired those 450 prophets of Baal. Like they were her idea. And so she sends Elijah a text. Made that part up. But she sends him a note that basically says, by this time tomorrow, I'm going to have you killed. Everybody say, oh, snap. So this is not good. And so this is what Elijah responds. This is the very next day after Elijah's best day of his life. In verses 3 through 4 says this: Elijah was afraid and he fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. Then he went on, what? he went on alone, hold on to that, into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down under a solitary broom tree and he prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died. Have you ever been at a place in life where you have had enough? Come on. Had enough of that boss? You know, had enough of that work stress? Had enough of that grief? Had enough of that feeling of losing? Had enough of those kids? Had enough of that husband? Nobody said amen. That's very good. That's very good. But everybody say, I have had enough. Come on, say it like you said it before. I have had enough. Listen, that is how we all have felt in our life before. And that's exactly how Elijah feels in this moment. And if you could put the verse back up, Bill. When he has had enough, what does he do? Does he get alone? He gets alone. And my point is that when we are tired, when we are sad, when we feel like we've had enough, we're going to be tempted to go it alone. We're going to be tempted to say, I got this. I can handle this on my own. But I'm here to tell somebody that sadness never turns to gladness when you're alone. Sadness never turns to gladness when you are alone. Why? Because I need other people. You need other people. And we need other people. Why? Because we are better together. We're better together. I remember I was a freshman in college when September 11th happened. And the reason I knew something was going on that day is because I was actually surfing in Ocean City, and all these like military jets were flying up and down the coastline, and I had never seen that before. And so I got home, I turned on the TV, and I saw what all of us who were old enough saw on September 11th. And we were all sad that day, weren't we? And I remember that night, our church decided to open up our doors if anybody wanted to come in and pray. And I was thinking, like, I don't really know, like, are people going to come out? And guys, the church was packed. Everybody showed up in that tragedy. And what was so amazing is when September 11th happened, as terrible as that was, all of a sudden, we weren't Democrats and we weren't Republicans. We weren't white collar or blue collar. We weren't old or young. We were people. And we came together because I think inside of us, we know that we are better together in those moments. And so when painful things happen, listen, you need to get in a minivan with your people and not on a motorcycle alone with your sadness. We need to get in a minivan with our people. Why? Because we are better together. And I don't know why painful things happen. I don't have all the answers, but I do know we're better together. I do know that when we walk together, we can walk through sadness better. And so if you're sad today, if you're like, grieving, or if you feel like you've had enough, I just want to tell you, don't go it alone. Call somebody. Get somebody around you, okay? Keep showing up to Bayshore. We will be your people. Keep going to your Bayshore group. Like, we just want to be here for you. Don't go it alone. But Elijah, he went it alone. And what's interesting is he's sitting under this broom tree saying, I've had enough. He's had enough. And actually, an angel shows up. An angel feeds him water and bread. And then this is what the angel says to Elijah. 1 Kings 19, verse 7. The angel says, get up and eat some more. Or, now let's read this together. Oh, it's not up there. Okay. Or the journey ahead will be too much for you. The journey ahead. Everybody say the journey ahead. This is so brilliant from the angel. Because the angel is like, hey, Elijah, I know you're having like the worst day of your life, but there is a journey ahead. There is still a future for you. And sometimes when we're really sad, we forget that, don't we? I remember a while back, I was with one of my buddies, and we were eating at Chick-fil-A. And this guy is great. He's like one of my favorite people in the world, all right? So he's the kind of guy who's like the life of the party. He lights up every room he walks in. Okay, he puts a smile on my face. He's just like this great guy. And we're in there, and we're talking about Chick-fil-A sauces, what our favorite ones are. Okay, mine is Chick-fil-A sauce. That's number one. Anybody? Yeah. Polynesian is second. Oh, yes. Praise hands. Good. So we're just in there, just talking, having a good time, and out of nowhere, he said to me, he's like, "Hey, Joel, I know," like he got real with me, and he's like, "Joel, I know that you have struggled with depression in your past." And he said, I'm there right now. And you would never know it if you saw him. And one of the things that depression taught me is that you never know it a lot of times. And so he said to me, it got so bad the other day that I thought about ending it. I thought about like just ending it all. And I'm so glad he told me that. And I will tell you, I was surprised. I would tell you that. But one thing this job has taught me after hundreds of conversations is that you never know what people are going through. And the number of people dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts is like everywhere, but nobody thinks they can talk about it. And so he told me that. And I was so glad he did because he brought me into it. And I was able to tell him, listen, life is better with you in it. My life is better with you in it. Like you are a gift, and he is, and I'm so thankful he gave me the opportunity to say that. And I don't know who I'm talking to today, but I just want to tell you, life is better with you in it. You are a gift, and never make a permanent decision based on a temporary situation in your life. There is still a journey ahead for every single person in this room. There's a journey ahead. And if you are sad, if you are depressed, if you feel suicidal, one thing you need to know, you will never be treated like a second-class citizen around here. You are loved here. We want to walk beside you here. We don't want to judge you here. We just want to remind you that the best is yet to come, and there is a journey ahead for you. Is anybody thankful for that? You just need to know that. So there's a journey ahead. And knowing that sometimes helps us manage the lows, because a lot of times we can't see past that sadness, but there's a journey ahead, and there was for Elijah. And so you got to enjoy the highs, manage the lows, and then the third thing is this: you got to reconnect to your purpose. Reconnect to your purpose. So my kids like some strange things. First off, they love slime, and you parents know about the slime thing. Look, whose idea was that? My life is definitely not better with slime in it, okay? My kitchen table is not better with slime on it, okay? Anyway, they love slime. They also love the air bubble packing stuff that comes in Amazon boxes. Way better than anything that could be in the box. Literally, Buzz Lightyear could be in the box. And they would be like, "Buzz, did you bring the air bubbles? Are the air bubbles here?" Like, they love the air bubbles. But my daughter's most recent craze is she loves her umbrella. Her rain umbrella. It's her favorite thing, the rain umbrella. Like, it will be raining outside, and she will go outside and stand in the rain. Which, can you imagine what the neighbors think? Like, what the world kind of pastor? Not even letting his kids in his house in the rain? Like, what's... Anyway, she loves the rain. Loves her umbrella. And sometimes when we're waiting for her bus, if it's pouring, and it's rained a lot this winter, she will want to stand in the driveway, at the end of the driveway, with her umbrella while I sit next to her in the car. Which, that's not a good look. You know, that doesn't give you like the Father of the Year award when you're sitting in the car next to your daughter with her umbrella. But I filmed it the other day when she was walking out to her car in the rain. And just take a look at this. This is Nora in the rain. She wants to use her umbrella, so she wanted to walk instead of being in the car. It's raining like crazy out. Nora, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Don't you want to come in here?
No.
You want to get in the car?
No.
Nixon, what do you think?
Good.
Crazy. Nixon, what do you think about your sister out in the rain? Good. This is great. Just leave her out there. I don't know. But she loves it. I think she thinks her purpose is to stand out in the rain. And here's my point. I think sometimes in life we think our purpose is to just stand out in the rain. You know, we think, well, I'll always be in the rain. This is who I am. I just stay out here in the rain. And isn't it true that we can get stuck in our sadness? Isn't that true? We kind of get stuck there. And so Elijah, he's stuck in his sadness. He actually goes into a cave, and he's feeling all sorts of sad. And God spoke to him in that cave, and this is what he said in verse 13. God said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" what are you doing here, Elijah? And the way I interpret that is I feel like God is like, hello, Elijah, you stood out in this rain long enough. Like, you can come in from the rain. Like, I still have a purpose for you, Elijah. And know what's amazing is Elijah did some amazing things when that whole thing with 450 prophets of Baal happened, okay? Like, stuff that none of us could dream of. We don't even see movies with stuff like this crazy. But his greatest accomplishment was still ahead of him. Because God said, hey, you are going to coach up your protege, Elisha, which is confusing. The Elijah thing, Elisha, but Elisha is a whole different person, and Elisha will go on to be the greatest prophet in the entire Old Testament. He's like the GOAT of prophets, you guys. And so Elijah got to be like Bill Belichick. Like Nick Saban, he was the coach. You guys, that was his purpose. And his greatest days were still ahead of him. And I just want to tell you that you still have a purpose. You have a purpose. You have a purpose. If you're not dead yet, you are not done yet. You have a purpose. And we all have a purpose. And if you're like, I don't know what my purpose is, let me just tell you what purpose every Jesus follower has. It's to be kind to each other and to love each other. Why? Because you never know what somebody else might be going through. You never know how sad somebody else might be. I'll end with this story. I heard this pastor tell the story of this bookstore clerk talking about the greatest customer she ever had. And so this bookstore clerk was working one day, and this kind of older, kooky, crazy lady comes in. And the lady was like just frantically going around the store and like picking up all these like art supplies. And she's picking up all these books, and she's like saying things like, I need some chocolate bars for my husband. And so like she's like getting all this stuff, and she puts all this stuff up on the counter. And when she puts everything on the counter and she's just like talking to the store clerk, this guy, a college guy, comes in and stands in line behind her, and he's got a whole stack of college books. Now, how many of you know like college books are expensive? They do not fit in the Dave Ramsey plan. So he's got this giant stack. He's standing in line behind this, like, this lady. And the lady sees him, and she says, why don't you go ahead and put your books up on the counter? I'm going to buy your books for you today. And like this store clerk is like, this lady's definitely crazy. This is crazy. And so, of course, the college kid is skeptical. He's like, is there a camera? Like, what? Is there someone, like, what's happening? And so he's confused, but he kind of like reluctantly puts his books up on the counter, and the college kid said, well, why are you doing this? And this is what the lady said. She said, it's important to be kind. You can't know all the times you've hurt people in tiny but significant ways. It's easy to be cruel without meaning to be. There's nothing you can do about that, but you can choose to be kind. And so she said that to him, and then she starts stacking more stuff up there for him. She's like, you like candy bars? And he's like, yeah. And so she puts a candy bar up there. And she's like, you like Harry Potter books? And he's like, not really. And she's like, well, you're going to read one anyway. So she puts that up there. And she's like, puts all this stuff up on the desk there. And she buys it for him. And then so this college kid just hugs her and is kind of confused, but just so happy with what this lady did. And he walked out of the store. And the store clerk said to the lady, why did you do that? And this is what the lady said. She said, my son is a homeless meth addict. I don't know what I did. And I saw that college kid, and I saw the man my son could have been if someone had chosen to be kind to him at just the right time. And she picked up her things, and she walked out. And the store clerk said, that's the story of the best customer I ever had. And the reason I tell you that is because when you look in someone's eyes, you never know what they're going through. You never know what sort of sadness they may be carrying. But we can all be kind. We can all be kind. We can all be encouraging. And how many of you know there's so many discouraging things going on around us? How many of you know that? But when we're kind, let me just tell you, when we're loving, that's part of my purpose. That's part of your purpose. That's part of every Jesus follower's purpose. And if you're sad here today, or if you kind of feel like you've lost something today, I just want to remind you that God loves you. He is for you. He sent his son Jesus so you could be forgiven and free. And God has already sent you the smiling face with heart eyes emoji. And maybe today you just needed to be reminded that he loves you and he's with you and there's a purpose for you, even if you can't see it right now. Because I believe your greatest days are ahead of you. Let me pray for you guys. Jesus, I'm so thankful for this story because it's one of those stories where we can identify with Elijah running away and feeling lost and feeling alone and getting alone. But God, you sent an angel to say there's a journey ahead. And God, I think that's what we need to walk out of here knowing today. There's a journey ahead. And so, God, I don't know where this lands with people in this room. I don't know what sort of loss or sadness or grief, or I don't know what that is right now for everybody. But I do know that there is hope when we know that there's a future. And so I just pray that you will remind all of us that there is a journey ahead and the best is yet to come. And God, just help that to encourage us as we walk out of here and help us know that sad isn't bad. Sad's not bad. But we don't have to get lost in it forever. And thank you for being our joy, even in those seasons that aren't so joyful. In your name, amen.